The MSR reactor, weight 186 grams. The JetBoil Minimo, weight 133 grams. The MSR Pocket Rocket 2, weight 74 grams. The BRS 3000T, weight 26 grams. Outside of winter conditions, would it ever make sense to take one of the heavier stoves? Hello everyone, I'm Jason. The more you use a stove, the more stove efficiency matters, of course, right? If we can save fuel, then we can carry less fuel weight. But efficient stoves also tend to be heavier, usually because of some combination of inclusion of a regulator to help with performance in colder temps, integration of the stove and pot to allow less heat to escape, and potentially insulation of the pot itself. So we have that extra weight of the stove versus the extra weight of carrying additional fuel for a lighter but less efficient stove. But when did these various benefits cut across one another? How long do you have to be out there before the more efficient but heavier stove makes sense? This video will be a little slim on cool outdoor adventuring footage, but will instead focus on a lot of data. So feel free to pause, screen grab stuff, whatever helps you out. Because I ran an experiment, and I am probably going to do a few videos like this in the future, trying out different scenarios. But I started with one that I thought would be a tough test for the heavier but more efficient stoves. A single person out in summer conditions. The experiment was designed to mimic a person rehydrating food twice a day in an environment with warmer days and coolish nights. Think Colorado, Utah, California, and the like. I took the 4 stoves I mentioned in the intro and ran them twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. I was boiling 240 milliliters of water each time. Temperatures ranged from a low of 43 degrees Fahrenheit, or 6 Celsius, to 83 Fahrenheit, or 28 Celsius. The colder temperatures were usually in the morning and the warm temperatures in the evening. The water was pulled from my refrigerator and averaged 42 degrees Fahrenheit, again around 6 Celsius. Like maybe an alpine stream might produce. The stoves and canisters were stored uninsulated outdoors, and the experiment occurred at an elevation of 5,000 feet, or around 1,525 meters. All the canisters were Snow Peak Gigapower 1585 mix of propane and isobutane. Each cook set was done in a minimalist but not extreme fashion, and I weighed each set. For the BRS 3000T and the Pocket Rocket 2, I added the Toke 750 milliliter pot with lid. The reactor and Minimo included only the stove pot and lid. No additional stands or wind guards were used. I weighed each canister, and I found that all 4 canisters weighed the same 208 grams, or 110 grams of fuel, and 98 grams of container material. This was verified, as each canister was weighed when it ran out, and each canister weighed 98 grams then, too. I marked each canister to associate it with a particular stove. Then I proceeded to boil the 240 milliliters of water twice daily until each stove's canister ran out. I stopped the boiling times as I saw the first big bubbles exploding. Basically, only the Minimo lasted much beyond a week, but a number of things surprised me. First, the MSR reactor was erratic. Here is a box plot that shows the quickest time to boil, longest time to boil, and average time to boil, all in seconds. The box represents the bottom quartile, 75% of all boil times took longer than this, and the upper quartile, 75% of all boil times happened faster than this. Basically, the bigger the box, the more variation in boil times. And we might think that this reflects each stove's performance in colder temperatures, but it wasn't. That was the second surprise. Here's a graph showing boil times on a scale of temperature. You can see that from the other 3 stoves, if we run a simple trend line through the data, we actually get boil times increasing as the temperatures go up. And, well, the reactor is just all over the place. So then I took a look at the boil times chronologically. Here is the sequence of boils on the bottom axis, and the reactor's high variation immediately jumps out. But the other stoves took progressively longer as I performed more and more boils. I think this likely has to do with fuel and pressure degradation, along with the canisters getting colder as the amount of fuel in each canister decreased. But let's talk about efficiency and weight. The stoves were comparable except for the Minimo. The 3000T averaged 7 grams of fuel used per boil, 6 grams for the Pocket Rocket 2, and 8 grams for the inconsistent reactor. The Mini-Mo was down to 3 grams, driven largely by a boil time that was more than 40 seconds faster than its nearest competitor. So what we end up seeing, here is grams of fuel remaining by day, is 3 stoves that run through a canister in 8 or 9 days respectively, and the Mini-Mo that held out until day 19, better than twice as long. Okay, but now let's talk about packed weight. Obviously, carrying 1 canister, it doesn't make sense to carry the heavier Mini-Mo if we are less than a week from each fuel resupply. But if we are out longer, does the Mini-Mo make sense purely from a weight perspective? Well, actually, no. Here's a graph of carried weight on the vertical, going down as we use up fuel, and the days out, boiling 240 milliliters 2 times a day, on the horizontal. I extrapolated the performance of the 3 less efficient stoves using their average performance. If we add a second 208-gram canister to each of the 3 less efficient stoves, but still keep only the 1 canister for the Mini-Mo, because that's all we need to stay out for nearly 3 weeks, we still see that the BRS 3000T plus 2 canisters never weighs as much as the Mini-Mo plus 1 canister, and the Pocket Rocket 2 makes up for the weight of the second canister on day 5. The reactor is a non-starter. Now, there are lots of other reasons to like a particular stove. Reliability, having simmerability, compatibility with different fuel types, superior cold weather performance, having full liter boil times that are shorter if we are boiling to purify water, and on and on. And in this case, we can also factor in the added waste we produce by going through 2 canisters instead of 1 if we are using one of the lighter stoves. But if we are talking just weight, it seems like a solo adventurer with minimal, but not zero, boiling needs might do well with a truly lightweight stove in summer conditions. Maybe in future videos, we'll see how this changes if we add in both higher volume demands and more challenging conditions. Do you have a go-to stove? Let us know which is yours and what you like about it in the comments. Thanks for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and share if you want to support us. For more information, you can go to our website at www.shortguysbetaworks.com. You can check out my family's most recent backpacking trip, which inspired this video, or maybe you'd be interested in our cold weather series as we start to think about those more challenging conditions. We'll see you next week and keep on getting more out of that big outside.